The Maryland man refers to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran national legally living in Maryland who was deported to El Salvador in March 2025, despite a U.S. immigration court order prohibiting his deportation. Here's a concise overview of the situation based on recent developments. Abrego Garcia, a married father of 3 with withholding of removal status since 2019, was deported by the Trump administration, which accused him of MS-13 gang ties without formal charges. The U.S. government later admitted the deportation was an error. A Maryland federal judge and the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals have ordered the government to facilitate his return, but the Trump administration has resisted, citing national security concerns.
Can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed you're not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right? How can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
So you can release him inside El Salvador?
Yeah, but I'm not releasing, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
They'd love to have a criminal, released into our country.
There's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people. Marco, do you have something to say about
that? Yeah, Stephen outlined it. I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin. Except for Venezuela, that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple.
Abrego Garcia is held in El Salvador's high-security CECOT prison. Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen visited him on April 17, 2025, after being denied access to the prison earlier. Van Hollen is advocating for his release, but El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele has stated he lacks authority to release him, calling him a terrorist.
The case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia does not have to do with MS-13. If you listen to President Trump and the Trump administration, you would think that the U.S. courts have found that Mr. Abrego Garcia is part of MS-13, but in fact, they have not found that. In fact, recently a U.S. federal court judge said that the Trump administration did not have evidence to support the claim that he had ever been part of MS-13.
President Nayib Bukele mocked Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen with an ex-post stating, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, miraculously risen from the death camps and torture, now sipping margaritas with Senator Van Hollen in the tropical paradise of El Salvador. The Department of Homeland Security released 2021 court filings showing Abrego Garcia's wife, Vasquez Sura, obtained a temporary protective order against him for alleged domestic violence, though she denies he's a gang member and supports his return. Posts on X and some officials claim he has a history of violence and possible human trafficking, though these claims lack corroborated evidence. Critics argue the Maryland man label by media oversimplifies his case.
So you're talking about Abrego Garcia, is that the one? Yeah. Is an illegal alien, MS-13 gang member and foreign terrorist. This comes out of the State Department and very legitimate sources. I assume, I'm just giving you what they handed to me, but this was supposed to be certified stuff. In 2019, Garcia was issued a deportation order. 2 separate judges affirmed Garcia was a member of MS-13, which is a gang that may be even worse than Tren de Aragua, and maybe worse. They kill people with knives because it's more painful. Very famous for the knifing and killing of 2 young 16-year-old girls walking to school one day, and they sliced them up into little pieces and killed them. That's MS-13. And 2 separate judges affirmed Garcia was a member of MS-13. When Garcia was originally arrested, he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money pouring out, an MS-13 gang symbol that he was driving with two other known violent MS-13 gang members, two of the most violent members that we know of in the MS-13 gang of thugs. In 2022, Garcia was stopped by the Tennessee Highway Patrol and was found to be transporting 7 people from Texas to Maryland, and he had no driver's license. He was driving violently. In 2020 and 2021, Garcia's wife filed for a protective order from him and said he was violent and abusive and really scary, including allegations that he punched and scratched her on the eye, left her bleeding after throwing her laptop on the floor at her, ripped her shirt, and ripped off her shorts. He then grabbed her arm, leaving very severe marks. Garcia's wife also wrote in court, "At this point, I am afraid to be close to him. I just don't want to be close. I have multiple photos and videos how violent he can be and all of the bruises that he's left on me." She just couldn't get anywhere near him. This is the man that the Democrats are wanting us to fly back from El Salvador to be a happily ensconced member of the USA family.
President Trump then posted a photo to X showing Abrego's MS-13 tattoos with the caption, "This is the hand of the man that the Democrats feel should be brought back to the United States because he is such a fine and innocent person." They said he is not a member of MS-13, even though he's got MS-13 tattooed onto his knuckles, and 2 highly respected courts found that he was a member of MS-13, beat up his wife, etc. "I was elected to take bad people out of the United States, among other things. I must be allowed to do my job, make America great again." The tattoo in the image is associated with MS-13, a notorious transnational gang. Here's the symbolism of the elements shown. M and S. These letters stand for Mara Salvatrucha, the full name of the gang. Mara means gang, and Salvatrucha refers to Salvadoran street toughness. 13. The number 13 signifies allegiance to the Mexican Mafia, a powerful prison gang. The 13th letter of the alphabet is M, linking MS-13 to this group. Snowflake-like symbol, often a stylized gang symbol, possibly representing a unique identifier or a nod to the gang's origins. Smiley face with X eyes. This can symbolize death or killing, with the X eyes indicating someone who has been crossed out or killed. Cross may represent a religious facade or a memorial for a fallen member, though in gang contexts, it can also signify a life taken. Skull, a common symbol of death, fearlessness, or a reminder of mortality, often used to intimidate or show loyalty to the gang's violent lifestyle. These tattoos are often used by MS-13 members to display loyalty, mark territory, and intimidate rivals. They also serve as a permanent sign of commitment to the gang's lifestyle. Protests in Maryland, St. Paul, and at the White House have demanded his return, with advocates decrying the deportation as a violation of due process. Republicans defend the deportation, linking it to broader anti-crime efforts, while Democrats, including Van Hollen, push for his return. The case has sparked debates over immigration policy and government accountability. That's all for the news today. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Have a fantastic day.